Hey, good afternoon and welcome to the GOTUG webinar. I'm starting the broadcast a few minutes early because the invitation says 12:45. The presentations will start closer to 1 o'clock, but I didn't want anyone to get disheartened and feel like they couldn't hear anything. So you could just raise your hand or make some noise if you can hear me, and we'll have a great webinar starting soon. Sound is good, that's good. So as Jake learned, and you all can see soon, I see there are two Jakes, so the two of you can just figure out which one I'm talking to. You can type a question in the questions panel, or you can chat in the chat panel. So those are the two ways to communicate with people that are presenting.
Penelope, I didn't see that chat, so I think they might be sending it just to the organizer.
Actually, they came in through the message, the questions panel. So if you see the questions panel.
I do not see a questions panel.
Will, can panelists see the questions? But it's in your, let's see, I undocked mine so that I could find it more easily.
Yeah, I don't see it either.
All right, well, basically, Jim Mitchell gives us this helpful information. It's right here. So yeah, if you look sort of down the right-hand side navigation, you can see webcam, share my webcam. This is only for presenters, of course. Dashboard, polls, handouts, chat, questions. So it's in there. And if you want to, and the attendees is in there. I sort of deconstruct the whole thing, like the proto-molecule and the expanse, break it all into its individual little parts, so that I can see things separately from each other. But has anybody found it yet?
No, I don't see it. Yeah, I get the webcam, audio, attendees, and chat, but I don't have a questions version.
Oh, well, that's odd. It's only for attendees and organizers.
Hey, Penelope, this is Will. If I would like to, if I can add, so for each question, I can right-click, as an organizer for this meeting, I can right-click the answerer and assign a question to either myself or to another fellow organizer and type in the answer on the right, if that helps.
We're just going to answer questions verbally, but what we do need to do, since we need to promote Jeremy to an organizer. All right, Jeremy, I made you an organizer. Can you see the questions?
I can.
Awesome.
Thank
So
you.
this little chit chat that you're hearing out there in the world, my attendees who are waiting for the webinar to start, is just because we have a conflict in time with the posting of the webinar starting at 12:45, but the content will actually start at 1 o'clock. So any kind of chit chat would be fun. You could chat to each other. It's like a little social minute. We have 5 minutes to go, and then we're going to give you full-on technical content. No cat. You mean no chat? Oh, that's weird. Audio attendees, one of these days, Jim Mitchell, my colleague in Louisiana, and Jason's, I think I'm going to have to attend one of these webinars from the attendee side so that I can see what they actually look like. Because you get spoiled being a presenter and an organizer all the time. You have all the bells and whistles and can do anything you like. It just makes me power mad, really. So someday, maybe when I retire, I'll attend a webinar and get the true user experience. So Jake wants to know, what's everyone's background? Transportation engineering and app development from him, them, I assume him. That's probably a mistake, right? I mean, it probably is in this case, but the assumption is a mistake. Real estate appraiser from James Stepp. Send us a poll question, says Jim Mitchell. Let's see. What is the actual lat long of the North Pole? That's my poll question.
But
All right. I think 2 minutes ahead is a good time to get started. So Jeremy, why don't you turn your camera on yourself and unmute yourself and lead us into the fray.
No camera, but I will. Yeah, I'll get started. All right, welcome everybody to the fourth and final quarterly GOTUG webinar for 2020. I'm Jeremy Aycock, and I'll be your presenter today. Before we get started with the presentations, I would like to go over who we are and what we do and what this webinar is designed to do. We are an AASHTO sponsored group. GOTUG is short for the Geospatial Online Transportation User Group. It began as a U-Plan initiative back in September 2015, and this user group was created in 2016 as a response to rapidly increasing development of web-based tools and applications. The goals of our group are to bring transportation professionals, GIS, and engineering disciplines together, and to focus on the issue of web-based GIS tools among transportation planning, engineering, and GIS professionals, and also to provide a forum to exchange ideas about the future of web-based geospatial tools and transportation. So, as I said earlier, I'm Jeremy Aycock. I'm the committee chair. I I'm a web and mobile GIS specialist with the North Carolina DOT. The other person you're hearing is Penelope Weinberger. She is a transportation data program manager for AASHTO. And to round out our key people in our steering committee, we have Adrian Sellers with the Utah Department of Transportation, Andrew Wimsatt with the Texas Transportation Institute, Nicole Hansen with Idaho Transportation Department, and Mark Sarmiento with the Federal Highway Administration. These webinars occur on the first Wednesday of March, June, September, and December, and they provide a platform for DOTs and business partners to showcase their tools, such as project planning tools, infrastructure maintenance tools, asset management, environmental compliance, traffic operations, and project delivery. And just to let everybody know, we do not endorse any brands of products, but we do welcome certain product vendors to give presentations. If you're interested in some of our previous presentations, they're available at our GOTUG website, which you can see the hyperlink on the screen. There is a list of presentations you can view and download from there. Some other technical resources, the GOTUG website is here. And if you want to be a member of our distribution list to get updates, there's a hyperlink there that you can go to. And then we also have AASHTO Data Committee resources to increase the visibility of GIS and geospatial data issues, and a technical resource group for all AASHTO members. Some more resources, there's the NPO GIS Working Group website. You do not need to be a member of ANPO to participate in this group. And also Federal Highways Administration GIS and Transportation Program, which focuses on case study reports, peer exchange, summary reports, email news briefs, and other webinars. Our next webinar after this one will be March 3rd, 2021, and please contact us if you would like to share a presentation that you've been working on yourself. Today we have actually two presentations. We have our first presentation will be from Jason Carr with the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development. It will be mapping DOT projects and highway inventory data, an ETL epic journey. Oshin is not able to be with us today, so we will also be having Samuel Calderon with the Oklahoma Department of Transportation with tracking Oklahoma's county certified mileage. So without further ado, I will hand it over to Jason to get started with his presentation.
Okay, good afternoon. I think it's afternoon, maybe morning for a few folks. There you go. Make sure I get the right screen here. Okay, everybody able to see my screen? Okay, awesome. All right, so as Jeremy just mentioned, I'm Jason Carr. I'm in Section 21, which is actually the Office of Planning here at the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development. And as y'all may have heard in the initial discussion, Jim Mitchell, who's also on the call, here is in what used to be Section 13, which is our formal IT section, I guess, with DOTD, and Jim was a main influence, I guess, with GIS here at DOTD for many, many years, and is still helping steer us moving forward. So, let's see if this will advance. Okay, so where do we begin? So obviously, this is kind of a, I don't want to say a joke, but you know, obviously in the past, you know, we would map things using paper, pencils, rulers. Anybody know of a French curve or what pounce is? Those are all the tools of yesteryear, right? Now we've moved into a digital age, so hopefully we can see things in a new way. I grabbed a couple of pictures, I guess, of some different things that we have archived here at DOTD, of the way we used to do some mapping. Particularly, we see quite a bit of flooding roads, and this year has been an unusual year in the number of named storms that we've had. I found this one really interesting because they would literally just take a paper map and write water levels on the maps themselves, and I guess at some point in time that may get put into a spreadsheet or a database in the past, whatnot. And then this is an example of how they would highlight projects on parish maps previously. Things have changed quite a bit. So from my understanding, and I've only been with DOTD for about 3.5 years, so I've worked with Louisiana DOT for probably 20 years, but not actually. That was as a consultant for most of that time. But from my understanding, the department began using CAD to start building some digital data, I guess, of roads back in the early 90s. But city maps continued to be hand drawn for a number of years after that. And this is just a little brief timeline. I guess I know before Jim got here at DOTD, which was in 2002, they were using GeoMedia in the late 90s, and then I think Jim kind of helped facilitate the switch to Esri products in 2002. My boss and supervisor, Daryl Mack, began developing an LRS in about 2004, and that really continued using control sections until 2016. And I think if you notice on this timeline that we actually began or kicked off our roads and highways implementation in 2014. So we were still developing the LRS ID in a sense when we began roads and highways, and that's kind of important for what we're doing with how we map things here at DOTD in Louisiana, because we now have 2 LRMs. We have one that's our primary that we store everything, and then we ingest, I guess, call the LRS ID a legacy LRM that we still maintain, because most of the department's data is still on LRS ID or references LRS ID. We went into production in 2017, and then in 2018 we started doing some business system integrations, and that continues today. I want to give a little bit more background, I guess, on some of our things. So this is just an example of what DOTD calls surface type log, which is our roadway characteristics, or a vast majority of them, and that's been going on in a mainframe system since the 70s. It was actually kind of upgraded in 2015, again, as we were starting the roads and highways implementation. They kind of upgraded, I guess, the interface, if you will, a little bit to a web application, and I think this made it a little bit easier to do some of the editing that they had to do the roadway characteristics, but there were still issues and the way that segments of roadways had to be broken. You changed one attribute for any of the roadway characteristics, and you had to basically create a new segment of data. Now with roads and highways, we can manage those separately, right, as events. Again, we went live with roads and highways in 2017. This obviously didn't solve all the problems that we have mapping things, particularly projects, but it did provide a framework and a foundation as we move forward. And I'm really excited with where we're going here in the near future. Roads and Highways has drastically improved the way we manage our data. We have essentially 12 event editor instances. Within those instances, we edit about 60 events. Different groups, for example, our highway inventory staff manages about 30 events. We have other instances that are more specific to certain things. such as byways or speed orders, traffic monitoring, traffic segments and stations and those types of things. We have separate instances for those, but those web applications are all dedicated to editing road data or road attribute data within roads and highways. Even though we've kind of migrated over to roads and highways for a lot of our data, getting buy-in in the department has been a challenge. And I'm sure many of y'all at other states probably experienced this quite a bit, is getting people to change a little bit the way that they've always done things. So specifically with this presentation, I guess, was kind of asked to talk about projects and the highway inventory data that DOTD has. And we wanted to kind of point out that in 2010, SAP was implemented at the Division of Administration, and they really took all of DOTD's project data and moved it over to another agency. And then the challenge then became, how do we get this data back so that we can use it internally? I actually say DOTD doesn't own this data anymore because it's not in a system that we have direct access to. We get a nightly FTP download from SAP and what we call LaGov, and as you can see here, that nightly download is a number of CSV files. It's kind of like we took a step backwards in a sense. Outside of that, then we have a series of scripts and stored procedures that take those CSV files and put them into DB2 tables. And I know at one point in time, we were having some pretty significant challenges getting access to where those CSV files were, or the DB2 database. Even though we've gotten that straightened out, we had an initial problem. Beyond that, I guess, where the CSV files were actually being manipulated before we received them. So we actually had to make a request for a unviolated, I guess, version of these CSV files so that we could build something out for our purposes in GIS. I wanted to take a moment to just kind of talk about some of the resources that DOTD has and had, I guess. So prior to what we call the System of Engagement, SOE, which is a project that we have ongoing with Esri, there were 50 or so department-wide regular users, I should say, people that were accessing ArcMap or catalog and using GIS pretty regularly, I would say. Up until we started the System of Engagement, and there was roughly 8 full-time GIS professionals. You can see we had a number of servers, a couple web servers, a couple GIS servers, some database instances, and essentially one environment for roads and highways and one environment for everything else. Since we kicked off the System of Engagement in 2018, we've seen the interest and the growth of GIS within the department. And I'm not going to go through all of these things, but we've made a very significant investment since 2014, I guess, when we started roads and highways, but then even more so when we started the System of Engagement, where we have over 40 servers that are supporting really multiple environments for our GIS. So why do I give you all this background? Well, even though we've invested in all this stuff, we still have a lot of issues with people using some older legacy web applications or access to data. And even though we're building web applications and whatnot with our new enterprise portal, getting people to use that portal and those applications has been a little bit of a challenge. There's kind of a trust. I don't want to say maybe it is a trust issue. It's an issue that we have where people are doing comparisons of old things versus new things and questioning why they may see differences. So in order to really facilitate some of this stuff, we decided to embark using FME. So we bought FME, an enterprise subscription, which gives us access to FME server plus desktop or workstation or workbench FME. And in combination with that, to do some ETL processes and then Esri's technology, we've really, I think, turned data into information for people. So the problem, as many other states probably know, we have a lot of disparate business systems, SAP, we have DTEMS for payment management, we've got BRM and Bentley AssetWise for bridge related data, and then we've got work order management system with Agile Assets, and just a whole slew of things, and none of these things really communicate. And that's what I really wanted to show here is that we have, AssetWise, for example, is a software as a service. We have other things that are hosted solutions or custom in-house solutions that have been built by IT staff here, and they're all using different relational database management systems. So we've got SQL Server databases and Oracle and SAP, DB2, whatever. There's probably some FoxPro or something around somewhere. Just none of this stuff really talks well with each other, and that's a struggle. So as part of the system of engagement, we went to a concept of a geospatial data gateway. And really what that is a singular database management system. So we're in a SQL Server shop, and then using FME to extract, translate, and load data from these different business systems or systems of record. We move all the data into this one singular environment, and then we use Esri's technology to create web services, web maps, and ultimately web applications where people can get information. So what does all this look like? So this is one of our FME workbenches. I know it's really small, but you can see how elaborate these things can get. And this is actually kind of one of the more simplified ones. But this is, I'm gonna go back and refer back to what I mentioned earlier on, the surface type log. This is essentially a workbench to create a surface type log like data set from all these disparate business systems, roads and highways being included in those disparate business systems. So we have some input data, right? We do some things. We have concurrent routes within our LRS, so we have to do things to make sure that we're putting data on the dominant route and those types of things in this process. We obviously can add domain values, we extract measure values and coordinates, and then pass that along through Esri's REST API for LRS server to do different translations. And then we build some geometry. We have the ability to add our pavement management road log, video log to that, so we can take those LRS begin and end log miles and pass that over to iVision, which is has all of our video log on there, and basically you can see video or still images of the roadway that we've collected, and then we build out a GIS geometry that we serve out and give users access to. So live demo, and don't do it, right? Y'all have heard that. I'm gonna do it anyway. And we were successful with this. So this is our highway data inventory viewer. This would be the modern version, I guess, of STL. And it gives the user the ability to essentially, they can click on the map, and give them the highway or the route segment that they've clicked on here, it gives them our current, our primary LRS information, the begin and end measure values on this route. Then it also gives them our legacy LRS reference and begin and end log mile information. But it also provides other information that's not necessarily embedded in those two route networks, right? So these are events essentially that we're pulling together. So we provide the parish, the district, if it's in an urban area. This happens to be in Baton Rouge here where we're located currently. The functional system, urban rural code, the NHS value, whether it's a truck route or not, is it on StrawNet, and what is the Fed aid status. Also point, I'm not going to click on this, but if we wanted to, we could click on this iVision link here, and that would actually take us to iVision. So we've tried to keep some of the things that people are familiar with here internally, give them access to that information, I guess. We also have a couple of query and filter widgets. We can turn on some options here if we want to see just primary direction or what we call our inventory versus non-inventory direction. We can also query by a particular route. So if we know the control section or the LRS ID, we can query on that. And the one that I really wanted to show here is this is an opportunity, I guess, using this particular widget. This is a custom widget that we built. It gives us 4 different ways to look for information within our road data. You can use control section, which is, again, our historic way of describing roads, the legacy LRS or the former LRM that we have. The route ID here is our current LRM, and then if you just know your XY coordinates, you can use those as well. And then these are the attributes that we're currently providing people the ability to return back to them. And if you wanted to, we could check all these on. We could put in a control section, and I'm gonna go ahead and risk it and try to do this. I'm just gonna say view data. Now this is actually the FME workbench that I was showing earlier. This is actually another version of that workbench, and it's a streaming service. So this is currently going out to FME and FME server, I guess, and running essentially kind of a dynamic segmentation of all of these attributes on the route that I selected. So this doing this on the fly as we're kind of watching here. And I can download this data, and then the user can obviously open it up as a CSV file, and I'll have to drag this over so that y'all can see it. Essentially, this is everything that most people in the department would actually need to look at for a portion of I-10. So this would be kind of in the western portion of the state along I-10, moving from Texas towards Mississippi. And they can get their information here. We have links to the iVision stuff, and all of these attributes are in here. Actually, there's some additional attributes in there that I wasn't really aware of. Right size, which is a program where we transfer roads back to local governments. But anyway, so that's the one application I wanted to show, and then our highway project viewer. I really find this quite interesting. Just from the standpoint of how we used to map projects previously, we had I guess a web application that was built off of either some Google or Bing maps, and essentially we were trying to map locations based off of coordinates. It really wasn't using GIS, but people use it a lot, they refer to it a lot, and we even still get questions today when people go and look at project data. They'll come and ask us specifically why sometimes our data, and I say the GIS data that we have here, differs a little bit from what those internal legacy applications provide. And part of that reason is because those legacy applications haven't been updated from a GIS perspective since 2015. So that given that, you can see where 5 years of changes in our data and not being updated, you would see why a user would not get the same information from two different systems. I'm just selecting on this particular project. My son lives in this general area, and he actually asked me about this project because it's kind of ongoing. So we're doing a roundabout here, and then they're doing an overlay and a widening project further to the south here. But this gives the user the ability to come in here and find out a good bit of information. And you see we have some costing information in here, who the project manager is, who the row representative is for this project. This is all information that without FME, you have ability to get to this information, and I'm gonna show you where we can do that in a legacy fashion, I guess. But we never had this in a true mapping application like we do today. And FME really helped us pull multiple data sets from whether it was the project system data that we have in SAP or some milestone data that we had in AssetWise or Site Manager. Several different systems kind of come together, especially if there's even a bridge project on here, then there's 3 or 4 more business systems that are involved in how we pull this data together. And I'm gonna click on this link for this HPP report. And what this is the actual report that the department from a historic perspective always received. So we've taken essentially all of this information using FME and compiled that so that we can present it to the user in a web interface that has mapping functionality. You can see it on a map, but you get all the same information versus this application, which has great information in it, but it's just like I said, from a GIS perspective, was not being updated, at least not often enough. You also have the ability to do some other functionality here. You can do some spatial queries. So if you know a particular location, if you want to, let's say you have a cemetery, for example, and you know where that cemetery is, and you want to know what projects are going on within a certain radius of that cemetery that might be impacted by the location of that cemetery, for example, you could do a spatial query on that. I guess you could use a number of different criteria to locate projects. We have a couple other functions in here. I guess you can also choose whether or not you want to do parish-wide projects to district projects or statewide projects, so you can limit the results that you get returned from that. And then I guess the last thing I wanted to show is our, go to the next couple. So we'll talk about this real quick. So we have some business system integration projects or tasks, if you will, going on right now. We're trying to integrate Dayton DTEMS, our pavement management system, with roads and highways. We're really close to completing that. We're hoping to finish that in the first quarter of next year. We've been in discussions with MS2 and our traffic monitoring vendor on integrating with roads and highways. That's been a little bit slower process just because of HPMS. We kind of started the whole project during the HPMS season this past year. So that really prevented us from being able to move forward too much on that. But we hope to finish that in the first quarter of next year as well. We really just started kicking off a project with Agile Assets. Now we're not really going to integrate work order information, but certainly some of the asset data that we have in Agile Assets will get integrated with roads and highways, guardrails, sound walls, traffic signals, those types of things. And then project systems, a real integration with project systems is supposed to happen, but we're not sure when that'll ever happen. These are the links that we have internally. You can't get to these unless you're on our network currently, but we do have plans to release a couple of public facing versions of these apps. And that's kind of part of the reason why I included these is we will have some public facing versions of these apps. And the last thing I wanted to show that we're using FME heavily on is our open data portal. And we're still building this out, but a lot of our data is available through this open data portal. We can, are y'all still seeing the presentation?
Jason, it looked like it minimized behind your screen.
Yeah, I see something happened here. Can y'all see my screen still?
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Okay, well, we'll finish up with this. Just wanted to point out that a lot of our roads and highways data is available through our open data site here. This is public. You don't need to log in to get to this. DOTD is doing a heavy collection of LiDAR and imagery. The LiDAR data should be available here in the future in this elevation category. We also pull in other data sets, if you will, base map type data. The whole purpose of this is to support topographic mapping. So the plan is we're to have layers that would go on normally a USGS topographic map available here for anybody to use. So they have digital data instead of using the old DRGs or topographic maps. So that was really all I had left. My PowerPoint actually closed on me now that I look at it. So I don't have my PowerPoint open anymore. But that's really all I had to share, and I'll take questions if y'all have any, or I'll hand it back over to Jeremy.
So there is a question. One question is, who is the user of this app? You said it's public, but who would the user be?
So for both of these particular apps, we get a lot of requests for both project data and highway inventory data. I would say the project data we get from other, obviously, department-wide staff users, employees here at DOTD, but we get a lot of requests from local governments about certain projects that may be going on in their area, or state legislators. We do what we call a roadshow map every year, where we go around the state and demonstrate projects to the different regions in the state and districts where projects are going on. So we have a lot of back and forth with legislators as far as the projects that are going on in their districts and whatnot. So I think that they would be using the Highway Project Viewer quite a bit. From an inventory data viewer perspective, a lot of the local governments ask us for our data quite regularly. We have some relationships and I don't want to say collaboration or sharing agreements, because it's not really to that level just yet, but we do provide data and discuss with local governments, the MPOs, the parishes, and even some of the cities, some of the data. We did a one-time collection of all roads in Louisiana back in probably the 2012 to 2014 timeframe, and that included local roads. So we collected a lot of roadway attributes during that time frame and put that into GIS, and we're now making that available to the local governments, and that was a huge benefit for them. They didn't really have that data previously.
So we do another question, and I'm going to encourage people to go ahead and type your questions into the question box. The next question is, have you been producing highway logs based on your roads and highways data?
Highway logs, you said?
Highway logs, that is the question.
So, well, I'll say this. This past year was the first time that we submitted HPMS out of roads and highways. Up until this past, I guess the 2019 HPMS submittal, that was always done using kind of the legacy systems that we have in place. We actually completed that this past year using all roads and highways. I don't want to say all roads and highways data. That's not necessarily true. I guess the short end of it is that our certified public mileage comes from roads and highways, and generally the mileage of any roadway comes from roads and highways. Yes.
All right. I don't see any up here. We've got another question. Who mainly uses LRS for their work, and what work items do they use it for?
That's a great question. So I would say probably 70% of the data in the department is referencing control section at minimum, which a control section is a segment of a route within each, what we call parishes, but each county. So like I-10, for example, that runs from Mississippi or from Texas to Mississippi, goes through 15 parishes. We actually have 19 control sections along I-10 because it includes 4 bridges. So from that standpoint, we use the most data in the I guess in each section or department within the department references those older systems. Most people are not familiar with what our primary LRM is, but I would say the vast majority of the people in the department use some form of LRS with their data. They somehow or another reference a control section or an LRS ID beginning on log mile. They may not necessarily always use a route and mile point type reference, but whatever, we try to support anything that the user may possibly want to use.
Okay, and a follow-up to that is, do you use straight line diagramming tool for data visualization and analysis?
That's one of our next endeavors that we'll take on this coming year. We actually have 2 products that we're looking at, or actually we'll be implementing over the next year using straight line diagramming, but we hope to incorporate that into our event editors with roads and highways to edit some of our roadway characteristics. Yes.
All right, and one final question, and then we're going to move on. With the implementation of roads and highways, was your HPMS submittal very different to previous submissions?
Vastly different, and I guess on Monday we'll get our report card. So I'm looking forward to that discussion.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jason, for a very interesting presentation. And I will turn it back to you, Jeremy, to introduce our next speaker.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Jason. Our next speaker is Sam Calderon. I hope I have his last name pronounced correctly. And he will be speaking about tracking Oklahoma's county certified mileage. And so without further ado.
Thanks, Jeremy. So as I said, my name is, wait, let's see if, so you'll see my presentation at the moment.
Yes.
Oh, there we go. It wouldn't let me unmute myself. Okay. There we go. So my name is Sam Calderon. I'm the inventory branch manager and the HPMS coordinator for the Oklahoma Department of Transportation. And today I'll be discussing how we track what we call the county certified mileage. So most states, when they talk about certified miles, are talking about the public certified mileage. But due to a particular state tax law, we also have a county certified mileage. So the abstract for my talk, we're going to go over the legal requirements that cause us to track this, our field operations, our central office operations, the county meeting process, what we call county action reports, which I'll discuss later, and then our web presence so people can keep track of this whole process. So legal requirements from the federal side to keep track with all the county roads and local roads, so we can meet all the HPMS, Arnold, and Meyer requirements. I realize Meyer requirements come a little bit later, but the All Roads Network has come about, and this helps us keep up with the total public mileage for HPMS. On the state side, we have a tax law that's Title 69, Section 316, called the Certification of County Road Mileage. And basically it states that we, ODOT, on or before the first day of June of each year, need to certify to our state tax commission the total number of county road miles per county and then across the state. And then it gives a very kind of vague rough draft of how to start calculating that mileage. So this is kind of our base point for how do we calculate the mileage, when do we have it turned in, and kind of how we need to coordinate with local entities to make sure that it's as accurate as possible so that they get the money they need for road and bridge maintenance. There's been some kind of unintended results as part of this law and its development through the years. We've become an authoritative source of record for county road change. So since this law got enacted in the 60s, and ever since then, ODOT's had to track where the county roads are, which ones get opened, which ones get abandoned, and a running history of those changes. So we get several open records requests and court subpoenas throughout the year to show county road history. We also get involved in helping train new county commissioners as they're elected on how the county certification process works and what their certified mileage means to them. We help settle disputes between counties and landowners because we can look back through time and say this has always been a county road, or you just recently gave it to the county, something like that. Unfortunately, due to the lack of any requirements in law for the counties to submit data or to push any information to us, it puts all of the onus on us to keep track of the mileage and make sure that it's correct. So in our field operations, we do perpetual field reviews for county roads. I have 3 transportation specialists armed with iPads running the Esri's Collector app. And that helps us do redlining for changes that need to happen for county roads. And they also use it for navigation in the sense of where have I already been in the county and what areas do I still need to look at. The general workflow is a new county is assigned to one of the transportation specialists. They do an initial review of the county in office on a mix of Google Earth and Collector. That way we check as recent of aerial imagery as we have available to us to kind of do a first pass over of the whole county. Then they determine areas that need to be reviewed on the ground due to poor imagery, old imagery, leaf on, all those kind of things. They'll drive those areas in a 4x4 truck to make sure we get full coverage of all of our non-paved county roads. Oklahoma is a very rural state, so we have a vast majority of local roads that are not paved. And they're redlining for changes in road presence. Is there a new road? Did a previous road disappear? Did the surface type change? The surface width? Privacy is a big one. So we get conflicting information all the time as to whether a road is actually private or maintained by the county. And then we're looking for gates. Due to state law and federal recommendations, if a road has a gate on it, or restricted access, then it does not qualify for county certified mileage. So here's kind of a quick look at what they're looking at in Collector. The Collector app itself is a very simple setup for what they need. It has every road in the database, no matter if it's private or not, so that they know what we already have in the database while they're out in the field. They have 2 redlining layers that they use, lines and points. We have all the surface types separated out, asphalt, concrete, gravel, grade, drain, unimproved. So they know if one of those have substantially changed, then they can update that. We also include the city limits, because part of that law that I referenced earlier dictates that you can only get county certified mileage inside of city limits of certain size. So they have to know which cities they can and can't, make changes and show that there's now new certified mileage. Also with the Collector app is attachments and photos, which are a huge help in records keeping and settling disputes over the past couple of years now that we've had this. If we have to remove a road for it being gated, but the county commissioner is like, hey, there's no gate out there. Well, we have a photo. Our field guy drove up to it. He snapped the photo. It gets attached right to the line that he just drew. And we can bring that up in the meetings and show them right away. Central office operations. So once the field guys have finished reviewing the county, I am notified that a particular county is complete. So we have an email record that the county is finished. What was the date that I got notified? I then assign that county to one of our editing staff who will pull down the redlining layers into ArcMap, and we use those notes and any pictures to update our LRS and appropriate attributes. We're using Esri's Roads and Highways as our main road inventory, LRS, and attribute program. Once the editing staff finishes updating the county, they will then double check the total certified mileage for that county compared to last year, and we'll take note of any large shifts in mileage. By large, we're looking for anything more than 8 to 10 miles plus or minus of what last year's certified mileage was. If we have a shift that big, then there's kind of a quick secondary process to double check. Well, why did these things change? Did a bunch of city limits change? Did we miss a chunk of the county for some reason? We try to track that down because we know we're going to get those questions. Once all that's finished, we then kick off a county meeting process for that particular county. The county meeting process is fairly straightforward, but it also takes a long time. We first contact the county. We usually start by contacting the Board of County Commissioners admin assistant for that county. We coordinate with that person so we can mail them 4 copies of their county certification map, which we also call the red-green map. It's every road in the county colorized by green for is it certified, red is it not, or is it private or gated, black means they legally can't receive certification, purple means that roads, we saw the road on the ground, but they haven't told us that they maintain it, so we call that eligible for credit. And then we have codes for abandoned, other state agency, and federal roads, so that they at least know that we know those roads are there, but they also can't get credit for those either. We then do follow-up calls every couple of weeks. Sometimes these maps just get stashed on a desk and not looked at, so we continuously do follow-up calls to make sure they're looking at them and to know when they're ready to meet with us. We then drive out to one of their weekly meetings. All boards of county commissioner across the state meet every Monday. So driving out to meet them in person at their courthouse on a Monday puts the meeting in a public setting, so it avoids any shenanigans or accusations of trying to change the mileage behind closed doors. We take notes of the change they want to make, and we bring that back to the office. We will update the LRS and attributes as needed with any changes, and then sometimes there's a secondary field review that's needed if the commissioners contest a road, or if they're adding new roads that for some reason didn't get seen when the field guys did their review. After all that is finished, we then mail out a final version of the map for their records. All in all, from the field guys first start looking at the county to a final mail out, will take anywhere from 6 months to a year and a half, based on how much time the county commissioners take to review their stuff. And it just depends upon the county and how fast they want to take action on this. And we're doing several counties simultaneously. We're usually running 5 or 6 counties simultaneously at the same time. If we're outside of a county meeting process with a particular county, we still needed a way for the counties to send us updated information at any time. So the way we do that is what's called a county action report. It's a simple one-page form that they fill out. They're telling us, hey, we've changed this road, or we've adopted a new road for maintenance, or we've abandoned this road, we've given it back to a property owner. So we can keep that stuff updated as quickly as possible. So it's really simple information we need. What county are you from? What district is it in? Are you adding, removing, or abandoning? And we have to state abandon because in Oklahoma law, that's a very specific thing. Since this used to be Indian territory, and then with the development of the public land survey system, Oklahoma is broken up into 1 mile by 1 mile sections, like most states are. But when statehood happened, every county was immediately given right-of-way rights to every section line in the state. They didn't have to open a road right away, but they have those rights through perpetuity. If they decide to abandon a road, they are legally giving away the rights to that right-of-way back to the property owners, either the connecting property owners, or it goes to a public auction. So they have to be very careful if they choose that abandon option. We need to know the road location and description. It needs a majority signatures of the board. There's only 3 county commissioners for each county, so at minimum, we need 2 of the signatures. We require a map with highlighting the road, so there's no confusion on like a text descriptor of where the road is. And then they attach any relevant documentation, the county commissioners action or minutes to show that they approved it, or something like that. Our web presence. So we've been doing, like I mentioned before, we've been doing this county meeting, county action process since the 60s. But it's very recently that we put this stuff online where it's readily available for both the commissioners and the public to go and view. So we dealt with a lot of questions, a lot of mailing and emailing of documents back and forth so that they could see that information whenever they needed it. But with ArcGIS Online and our push for digitization of basically all mapping, now is the time to put that stuff out on the web. So when we say real-time updates, all of our publicly facing data is technically a week old. It all gets updated over the weekend and then republished every Monday. So we debuted the county certification web app, and I'll do a live demo of it here in just a second. And it's basically just an ArcGIS Online web map with the county certification data in it for every road in the state, and along with some other administrative boundary information, wildlife management areas, things like that. So we debuted this very early 2019, and the county commissioners loved it. This is something they've been looking for a long time, and they immediately asked, well, how do we see our total mileage off that application? And there really isn't a way to in just a regular web map. So we used an operations dashboard and a secondary just tabulation table to display the certified mileage for each county. So in the operations dashboard, there's a drop down. You pick your county, you can funnel down to just your district, and you see everything from the certified mileage, the breakdown per commissioner, and then your eligible mileage and all your private and non-credited mileage. And this was a huge hit also. So at any time, a commissioner can jump in, see what the total mileage for the county is, see what his third of the mileage is. Their districts are technically supposed to be in thirds. Some are, some aren't. But they can see that breakdown. So before I go to that, I'll actually do a demo real fast. Can you all now see a web page from our main website?
Yes.
Okay, so on the main ODOT website, if you drill down into our section of the website, we have this page for county certification information. It breaks down the legal stuff, how to get to the dashboard and the web map, a historic spreadsheet of the mileage. I just realized those are really close together. Kind of our general methodology, how to fill out a county action report, just a bunch of information to get a county commissioner started in that process, and then how to contact us if they have more questions. So this is that county certification web map I was talking about. You can flip on the highways if you need to, all your credited mileage and your administrative boundaries. So if I flipped on cities, you'll notice there's no roads turned on because this is the Oklahoma City limit. And Oklahoma City is way too big for the county commissioners to receive that credit. So they could zoom in. They can even zoom in close once it loads. And notice that the boundary line is right against the city limit, but your city limit's not fully crossing the road, so you're getting credit for that road. That allows them to drill in and really see that kind of stuff. The other place that's really helpful is our lake roads. Our lakes have very convoluted boundaries, like most lakes. So you get a bunch of little tiny roads up near the lake that are hard to see on a paper map, where you could come to this web app and see all those roads. And then the dashboard. This all updates in real time if you change your county, and it also recenters on the new county you select. So all your values update. You can see where your roads are. Say I was just Commissioner 3, so it updates that. And then I see my eligible miles just in my district. So this has been a huge hit for those guys, or for those commissioners, excuse me. And they really like it. So I think that is all for me.
Go ahead and type your questions in the question pane, and we'll throw them at Sam if anyone has any. If any of the other presenters have any, they can just go ahead and ask them, unmute yourselves and ask the question. All right, got some questions coming in. During field work, how do you establish routing or routing? How do you add the address, the postman problem? How do you address the postman problem?
Can you say that one more time? I'm not sure I followed.
Yes. During field work, how do you establish routing? How do you address the postman problem?
Oh, I got you. We don't have set routing in a county, or when we do the field work. The field guys basically go section by section to review the county, and then if they have particular areas they need to go to, the routing is just kind of up to them. We could probably streamline that a little bit, but my worry is, with as rural as Oklahoma is, there's a lot of areas where you go from paved to unpaved to very rough, then back to paved kind of in short distances. So I'm a little bit hesitant to let a program or ArcMap kind of set up routing, because you may throw them down some pretty rough roads unintentionally and slow them down. So we leave the routing up to the field guys to figure out.
Okay. Are all the data from the county certification site a hosted feature layer?
Yes, they're all hosted feature layers, and they're all publicly available through either our main AGO site or through, we have an open data portal also.
Right. Are there any more questions coming in? I don't see any yet. Oh yeah, here we go. Inventory work, oh, it's a comment. Question. Inventory work usually goes on all year. How often or over what interval are the #1 data, are the data and the website updated?
So the data and the website, the data is updated every weekend, and then the websites are updated every Monday. So that allows, so if a county commissioner knows we're in that area, they can kind of check the map every Monday or in the middle of the week and see kind of what we've been working on leading up to the meeting.
All right. I don't see any more questions coming in. So I am going to turn it back over to Jeremy.
All right.
Thank you so much. Great presentation.
Thank you.
Jeremy, you are muted if you're talking.
Sorry, thanks. So yes, thank you, Sam, and thank you, Jason, and thank you for everybody who joined this webinar today. Our next webinar will be on March 3rd, 2021. And once again, if you want to be notified of our upcoming webinars, please sign up for our mailing list. And I hope everybody has a great day. Thank you very much.